Okay, so today we're going to have a look at file input output stream. I create a new Java application. I'm going to call it Caesar's cipher, just because I can't say it. And at the bottom I'm going to create the main class. Now I'm going to create a new file, which is the Caesar cipher, which is the part that's going to actually encrypt the data. Okay, so I'm going to create a private integer variable, and that's going to be the key. That's going to be how much the person needs to shift the message by. In my constructor method, I'm going to pass in the encryption key. For example, this might be 2, it might be 3, it might be 22. It depends what the person wants to shift the data by. And I'm going to assign that to the key variable. Then I'm going to create the public encrypt stream. This is the program that's actually going to do the encryption of the data. And I need to pass in the input stream and the output stream from the main method. This will allow me to both read in and read out the data. It throws an I/O exception. We haven't dealt with this before, but that means if there's a problem with the file, then it sends a message back to the main method to print out on screen that there's a problem with the file we're looking for. Obviously I'm cheating and adding the imports as errors rather than doing it at the start. So I'm going to create a boolean done. This just enables me to have a look, and when the file stops reading it'll turn to true. So we've got a loop while there's still data in the file. So here I'm reading the next byte from the file. If it's -1, that means that the file is now empty and there's nothing left in the file. So then I switch done to true, so the loop ends. Obviously I've put an equals instead of a double equals, so I'll just fix that. Right, if it's not done, then what happens is the byte is read into B, and I have to cast it as a byte so it knows to treat it as a byte. Then I encrypt byte B using the helper method that's not been written yet. And then I write the encrypted file to the print stream out, so it prints it to a new file. So now I've got the helper method encrypt, and it takes in the byte B. All this method does is it returns the byte, but using the key it shifts it along. Okay, now I create a scanner because I need input from the user. Now here I've got my try method. That means that I will keep going to make sure there's not an error. Because I'm using files, I need to do everything in the try catch, so if it doesn't work, a correct error message is printed out. So I'm going to get the input file from the user and save it as a string. Then I'm going to get the output file from the user. and store it in a string. Then I'm going to get the key that they want to encrypt it by and store it as an integer. Okay, now I'm going to create a new input stream. This input stream takes the data from the file as bytes. This allows me to read from the file and to put the file name inside as a parameter so it knows where it's reading from. Then I create an output stream which allows me to write to a file, and obviously again this is going to take the output file as a parameter so it knows where to write the data to. Now I'm going to create a new version of the Caesar cipher, so a new instance of the class so I can use it to encrypt the file. I'm going to pass in the key for how long I want to encrypt it for. And because I've called the constructor method on the encrypt stream method, I need to pass the in file and the output file. It's really important that you remember to close the files so that you're not passing out bytes and you're not trying to read in bytes once you've finished using them. Again, now I'm going to add all the imports. And from the main method, from the Caesar cipher, it throws an IO exception. If I receive the IO exception, then this is where I print out the error message. Okay, to run the program, I need to create a text file, but I need to store it in the same folder as the program that I'm running. So I look for my Caesar cipher program folder, and inside this folder I'm going to create a .txt file. Now I'm going to run the program and test that it works. So, set it as the main program and run it. And I know that my input file is called lins, so if I type in lins.txt and then I type in a new output file because one doesn't exist yet, then if I check my folder, I can see that the encryption has occurred. Now to put it back the way, if I put in a shift key of -3, then lins2 should turn into the original text. And you can see that it has, so it works.